Hello, I'm Jeff Engle, the President and Chairman of Conquest Cyber. In this HelpNet Security video, I'm going to be talking about the estimated $15.6 billion in cybersecurity appropriations that are making their way through Congress. New appropriations and investments are critical to improving our cyber baseline capability and addressing known systemic risks to our government and the critical infrastructure sectors that enable our day-to-day life. Unfortunately, our approach is inherently reactive. Funding, regulation, and accountability significantly trails the broad realization of risk. And this fails to systematically address all of the variables that impact our collective cyber posture. Our attack surface is huge. Just across our 16 critical sectors and the 46 national critical functions, there are over 400,000 organizations, and most of them are private entities or state and local governments that are poorly staffed, under-resourced, sometimes too many technology devices that are in their network, to the point where they can't effectively manage, monitor, predict what's going to happen, and definitely not prevent even the things that they know are coming. This requires us to evolve our thinking. We have to start adapting to be able to prevent what we can predict. That way we can adapt to everything else that's coming. In America, we have enjoyed a significant advantage geopolitically for many years. Some of that is due to our geographic position in the world. Having oceans on our east and west coast and allies and friends to our north and south puts us in a position that we have been able to harness the resources and project power globally. Now, because of our diversity, the fact that we are a country of immigrants, where we've brought in talent from all around the world and aligned them to our foundational principles, that's generated a significant competitive edge in things like innovation and the ability to help our friends and allies as they face challenges, whether it be, geopolitical, natural disasters, or they're just looking for a model to build a system of government around as they work through, their desire for freedom and growth. But that geographic advantage has been completely lost, especially in today's digital first world. We can no longer rely on the ability to identify the ships are coming or control airspace. We can't really address global connectivity at all. And there are only minimal things that we've been able to do to address global accessibility. That leaves us with the other competitive advantage. And that's our ability to take diverse skill sets and talent, bring them together, and apply them in new and novel ways to regain a competitive edge. That's the missing piece that I'm seeing as we put more funding towards the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity Infrastructure Securities Administration, as well as all of the other federal agencies that have both internal needs and the need to provide regulation to their counterparts in the private sector. We have to start thinking about what is going to happen rather than what has happened. We have to start identifying that critical infrastructure being operated by these private entities cannot just be forced into meeting compliance standards and expecting that that's going to generate the necessary advances that we need in order to be resilient against our adversaries globally and maintain our geopolitical position in the world. We can't just add new technologies, mass produce people. We have to think about this in a new way, evolving talent rather than throwing more bodies at the problem, building organizational capacity to be compliant. Yes, you have to realize that compliance stems from a lot of people in your sector being hit with the same types of attacks. but building maturity to where you know that if a control is in place, it's there today, tomorrow, and in the future, and get towards a point where we can prove effectiveness against the scenarios that ultimately are likely to face my particular sector, my business, or the function that I provide. Not just on protecting PII or identifiable information or public health information, but looking at the mission critical functions that these sectors provide and the tools that are needed in order to make them work. And then we need to get to a fostering ecosystem where we see an attack in one sector or in one entity, and we can rapidly get the information to everybody else who needs it, not just on what happened, but what can be done to prevent that now predictable event. So those three things, focusing on evolving talent, which ultimately is going to require us to both build and buy, but really start to translate mindset into skill set and skill set back into mindset. Because doing what you're told and doing the tasks, meeting your regulatory requirements, that is not going to position us to maintain a competitive advantage and be able to extend capabilities out to the rest of our teammates who need them. Once we've done that, we really have to get the cybersecurity industry to cut down on the technology noise. Initiatives like bringing together cybersecurity mesh architecture, standardizing, alerting across different companies, and putting us in a position that, the client can select the right tools for them and have visibility into whether or not those tools are going to address their specific needs. And then work on advocacy to get us to the next layer, get us thinking about what could happen rather than what has, and thinking through as a collective ecosystem, what is expected and what is needed, keeping the carrot and the stick, available, but really thinking of ourselves as one large team where any one of us going down could have, ripple effect across the rest of our ecosystem of critical sector technologists, cybersecurity industry professionals, state and local governments, as well as our federal partners and regulators. So those 5 things, I think, must be addressed as they start to appropriate these funds and push them out to grantees and through the agencies, rather than just focusing on more regulations. Thinking through what will actually work, what will get us to the end state we desire. Evolving talent, evolving organizational capacity, building a more cohesive ecosystem, cutting down on a technology-first approach, and ultimately thinking through how to prevent what we can predict and adapt everything else. That's what's needed. Hopefully that's what's coming. But largely funding enables focus, and hopefully focus enables a more collective ecosystem outcome that builds our defenses and thinks about what we need for the future, not just what happened in the past.